Christ, he hardly gets a punch in anymore! Fights being stopped by referees! He's pathetic!
Braddock was a father of 3 children. With the milk nearly gone and no money to buy another bottle, his wife had to water down what little remained for the kids. Before daybreak, Braddock was already out the door, heading to the docks to look for work. But the docks were only hiring 9-day laborers, and Braddock wasn't one of them. He returned home dejected, only to discover his oldest son had stolen a sausage from the butcher shop. He immediately made his son come with him to return it. On the walk home, Braddock told his boy that no matter what happened, they would never steal. In his last fight, Braddock had broken his right hand, but now, desperate for cash, he had no choice but to hide his injury and step back into the ring for a new bout. Hearing the crowd's constant heckling from below made him lose his composure, and out of habit, he threw his right hand. His hand broke again after the fight ended. The promoter refused to pay Braddock and revoked his boxing license. From that day forward, he could never fight again. Devastated, Braddock came home and apologized to his wife. Then he decided to paint his hand cast black with shoe polish, so when he went out looking for manual labor, nobody would notice he was injured. A few days later, the electric company shut off their power because they hadn't paid the bill in for months. With winter setting in hard, they had no lights except candles and no heat, so they secretly tore down public wooden fencing to bring home as firewood. Even so, their youngest son still caught a cold from the bitter cold. Braddock had no choice but to stand in the long line at the relief office for government assistance. They only gave him $19, nowhere near enough. Desperate for solutions, he made his way to the boxing club where he used to work. With his head hung low, he told everyone about his dire straits and begged them to spare some money to help him through this crisis. Some people pulled out whatever change they had in their pockets and gave it to him, while others just watched coldly without offering a dime. When Braddock approached his former manager, his eyes were already brimming with tears. Time moved on to June of the following year. That day, his manager suddenly came looking for Braddock, saying he'd gotten him a fight. The boxing association desperately needed a fighter, so they thought of Braddock. All he had to do was take a beating for 1 round, and they'd pay him $250. Braddock agreed. The next evening, just as the fight was about to begin, his manager suddenly heard Braddock's stomach growling loudly. When he asked about it, he learned that Braddock had gone to the relief station the morning for soup, but they were out, so Braddock hadn't eaten a thing all day. His manager quickly brought him a bowl of beef and potato stew, but there was no spoon. Looking at the full bowl of stew, he bent down and started eating straight from it. Just then, a reporter showed up and mocked him. Before Braddock could respond, the staff called him into the ring. The fight began, and his opponent immediately came after him. Within seconds, Braddock was knocked down after hitting the canvas. All he had to do was stay down and wait for the count to finish. Then, he could easily take his $250 and go home. But incredibly, Braddock got back up and started fighting back. His fighting spirit grew fiercer and fiercer. To let his right hand heal, Braddock had been lifting heavy objects with his left hand, gradually building tremendous strength in it. Soon his opponent lost consciousness and collapsed to the ground. After the fight ended, reporters swarmed in. That night, Braddock came home with the money. When the children heard he had one, they rushed up and hugged him tight. That evening, the family enjoyed their first hearty meal in ages. The next morning, Braddock was back at the docks because after paying off his debts, he didn't have much money left. Within a few days, his manager came looking for him again, and so Braddock began training once more.